I'm Aaron from PhoneDog.com, and you're full, you're stuffed, you're back from the holiday grind, you're back home, and you're thinking, it's dogfight time. Well, you're right, my friends, it's back to dogfights, and I'm here with two awesome 4G devices. One, the HTC Rezound, and this is available from Verizon for $299.99, and it's got some awesome specs. 8 megapixel camera, a nice big HD 720p display, and of course Verizon's 4G LTE connectivity. Then you have the HTC Vivid over here, dual-core processor as well, an even bigger display, even though it's not HD at 720p. Then you have a camera on the back. You have a camera. That's exciting. An 8 megapixel camera, a front-facing camera, and Android 2.3 on both of these bad boys. Which one's the winner in the dogfight, or which one's going to take home that gold medal? We'll find out, my friends. But first, some love to Best Buy Mobile. When you go into Best Buy Mobile to get either of these devices, you're not going to deal with rebates. Isn't that great? You're not going to deal with paperwork, waiting for your rebate, those stupid debit cards that everybody hates, but they all continue to send them. At Best Buy Mobile, when you walk in that door, they'll help you without rebates. Enough of that, let's get into it. HTC Rezound, HTC Vivid, Verizon AT&T, both 4G LTE devices. Which one's going to win? Gonna find out in the dogfight, which starts right now. Bam! Two 4G LTE devices on two competing carriers, but they're both high-end Android powerhouses. And I feel like I say that in a lot of the dogfights. Well, it's because it's true. There have been a ton of Android phones this year, and it's really increasingly kind of getting harder and harder to choose which one's the best. On one hand, you have the HTC Rezound over here, or even that, there's not really a best device for everybody. I mean, it all depends on your wants and your needs. But in a dogfight battle, you know what we do. We choose between one of the two devices on camera. Here's the HTC Rezound, and this is from Verizon. It's available now for $299.99 with a 2-year agreement. You can find it cheaper at some third-party retailers, Amazon, Wirefly, places like that. And take a look at the price at Best Buy Mobile as well. But the HTC Rezound, now this sucker's packing a dual-core 1.5 gigahertz Snapdragon processor. It's got a 4.3-inch True HD 720p display. So it's one of 3 devices in the US that have HD 720p displays right now. You got this, you have the Nitro HD by LG, and then you have the Samsung Galaxy Nexus, which you can obviously get unlocked, or you can get it through Verizon on contract and subsidized. So you got 3 options there to choose from if that's a big thing for you. An 8 megapixel camera on the back with 1080p HD video recording. Kind of smacked that pretty hard. It's a good battery door too. Got a nice texturized battery cover back here with a 1,620 milliamp hour battery, a front-facing camera, and this sucker has Android 2.3.4 with HTC Sense version 3.5. Now keep that in mind, this is running Android 3 or Sense 3.5, whereas over here the specs are a little bit different. You've got a dual-core 1.2 gigahertz Snapdragon processor, so a little bit slower on the clock speed front, but you have an 8 megapixel camera with 1080p HD video recording over here, a front-facing shooter on this one as well, a 4.5-inch QHD display, and then over here you're packing Android 2.3.4 as well, but you're packing Sense 3.0. So far, Sense 3.5 has only made an appearance, I'm getting a cold as a result of the cold weather, what it is. Sense 3.0 over here on the HTC Vivid. So that's something to keep in mind. You can see over here, and I meant to go to software information. You can see 3.0, 2.3.4, and then over here, 2.3.4 with Sense 3.5. Now, they look a little bit different. You'll notice this is the kind of the typical HTC design on Verizon. You've got kind of an Incredible 2 look and feel here with the red kind of color scheme. You've got this plastic battery door with some texturized stuff on the back. You've got your Beats logo. This is a Beats by Dr. Dre handset. HTC partnered with them last year. I think it was last year. Maybe it was this year. Time seems to fly. But this is the first one in the United States to support Beats by Dr. Dre officially on the HTC side. Then, of course, it has Verizon's 4G LTE connectivity as well, and it joins a slew of other devices on Verizon like the Galaxy Nexus and the Motorola Droid Razr that support 4G LTE connectivity. Over here, it comes with AT&T's 4G LTE connectivity, and it's kind of a little issue that's going on right now, at least in my office. AT&T says there's kind of a network issue that's happening uptown in my office area, so I've got this thrown onto Wi-Fi. You know I hate doing that in videos because it doesn't give an accurate performance indicator of the phone, at least on the network side, and network's pretty darn important, but you can see it is showing 4G LTE. So this is an LTE-capable device as well with a 1,600 milliamp hour battery. Actually, this may have a 1,620 as well. I'm coming off the holidays here. Bear with me. I've got to re-remember my specs. 1,620 over here. And to the 2 YouTube commenters that are typing this, that are watching this and typing, I hate it when that guy removes the batteries. I'm sorry. It just had to be done. So 1,620 milliamp hours on both devices over here. So while that one's booting back up, let's take a look at this one. Now, Sense 3.5 so far only been on Verizon HTC handsets in the United States. We've seen it on the HTC Rime, that phone that was kind of targeted towards females, and now you see it over here on this one as well. So you can see again red color scheme here with your capacitive buttons, home menu, back and search at the bottom, and you do get some Verizon and just general pre-installed stuff out of the box. You get backup assistant, Blockbuster, you get Hot Pursuit, Let's Golf 2, because everybody loves to golf. I mean, come on now. NFL Mobile, Mobile Hotspot, My Verizon Mobile. You get scroll down here, all that stuff I've installed. Video Surf, VZ Navigator, VCast Music, VCast Videos, and of course Visual Voicemail, which through Verizon is an additional $2.99 per month. Now you're going to notice down here you got some options to scroll between the applications. You can see all of your apps, you can see frequent, you can see downloaded, or you can see of course the Verizon Wireless pre-installed stuff. Now you can see there's a lot of pre-installed Verizon bloatware out of the box. I feel like it gets worse and worse as time goes on. And the benefit is you should be able to come in here, and if I remember correctly, because there have been a ton of phones in the past couple of weeks, but if I remember correctly, we can come in here and see, go to downloaded, and a couple of those can be uninstalled. I want to say Let's Golf 2 can be uninstalled. At least I know it can be uninstalled on the Droid Razr. Let me see. Looks like this one might not be able to. So Hot Pursuit, nope, can't uninstall that. Let's try Let's Golf 2. Nope, can't uninstall that either. So at least on the Rezound, you cannot uninstall that stuff. It is there out of the box. Not a big deal for average users, but for people that want the maximum amount of space on their device, it's going to be kind of frustrating. Then up here at the notification bar, you can see the typical stuff here. And you know, the camera's not really doing it justice, but let me try to bring it in here and get it in focus so you can see. I mean, it's just a beautiful display. If you get a chance, compare this display to the Droid Razr or even the Galaxy Nexus, which also uses an HD display but utilizes Pentile technology. Compare them side by side in the store, because to me, when it comes to the three, kind of what I call the flagship Verizon Android phones, the Droid Razr, the Galaxy Nexus, and this thing wipes the floor in terms of screen. If you're buying just for a screen, buy the HTC Rezound. But if you're looking for maybe a bigger display or you're looking for a different type of build quality, take a look at the Galaxy Nexus or the Droid Razr. But the screen here is just absolutely stunning. But you've got your typical HTC tabs over here with quick settings where I can check Wi-Fi connection. And you're going to see some differences here between Sense 3.0 and Sense 3.5. And let's go back over here and let me pull this over so I can get that up on there for you. Quick settings, you can see the differences here between 3.5 and just regular version 3.0. Now, interestingly enough to me, this has a total of 1 gigabyte. Both of these have 1 gigabyte of memory, but you can see that not a whole lot's free over here, about 228 megabytes, and even when I'm totally clear, about 312 megabytes. Now over here, you got 423 megabytes. Let me click on that and see if I can get into the task manager here. Do not know what's going on with that one. The moment looks like it's having some minor issues, but you can see over here, you know, 312 on average. I see between like 4 and maybe 475 with most HTC devices. So I'm kind of wondering what's running in the background. So that's something to kind of keep in mind if you do buy this device. It seems like it runs kind of close on the memory front on a pretty regular basis, but you'll see other things in Sense 3.5, like all apps personalized. You'll see actual written text below, whereas over here on 3.0 you don't see that. Now over here on the HTC Vivid out of the box, you get AT&T Code Scanner, Family Map, Navigator. You get featured apps, you get HTC Hub and HTC Likes, huge, because those give you the opportunity to personalize your device outside of what comes pre-installed on the phone itself. More on that in just a second, but Live TV, My AT&T, MOG Music, Need for Speed Shift, you got Visual Voicemail from AT&T and YP Mobile. Now the benefit to the AT&T side, you don't see that Verizon folder, you see downloaded and frequent, but what you can do is you can uninstall the AT&T bloatware. AT&T's really listened to their customers. They're like, we really don't want that. Mostly they're nerd customers, but they're like, we really don't want that. We don't want Navigator. We don't use that. We use Google Maps. You know, we don't use Code Scanner. We don't use Family Map. Let us uninstall it off of our own devices. Well, AT&T says, sure, finally, and now you can uninstall the bloatware from the AT&T devices. But back to what I was saying about personalization, you don't get Hub or HTC Sense, or excuse me, Hub or HTC Likes over on the Verizon one. So we'll go into the personalized menu on both of these, and again, from 3 to 3.5, you can see the changes here, and it's kind of nice to have two Sense versions side by side so you can see, and instead of having them kind of separated out here by individual headers, you can just scroll over to display, change the display there, change the sound right there, so you can do your widget stuff from that screen. So let's go over to display. For example, you can see scene, skin, wallpaper, and lock screen style on both of these. Now on both of these phones, you can change the lock screen, for example, so when you power it off and back on, you'll notice that the ring, pull the ring up to unlock, where you can have it to be the weather, you can have it to be individual stocks, like I have the weather over here, for example. Now the downside is that's pulling in real-time data each time you're turning it on, because it's updating the weather, it's doing things like that. So keep that in mind. You know, that may be a little bit more of a battery hog, but you have the option to, you know, do a photo album, friend stream, weather, stocks, and of course a clock as well. And you can do the same thing over here on the Sense 3.0 enabled Vivid. Just looks a little bit different in terms of design. Now, where you do get the difference over here on the AT&T one because of HTC Hub. Let's go to wallpaper actually let's go to skin, for example, and you're going to see an option that says get more down here. You'll notice it's not over here, it just says apply. So you can go with one of the 3 skins that's pre-installed over here, or you can click get more on the AT&T version and go to what's called HTC Hub. It gives you the ability to download some free skins, free wallpapers, free ringtones, and more through HTC's kind of online store of sorts, where you can really customize the device and make it you. So you're kind of stuck with this. Same thing with the Incredible 2 and some of the other HTC devices that have this ability on Verizon. They've pulled out HTC Hub and likes, which is kind of frustrating. And it's interesting, you know, over the years AT&T was kind of banged for having, you know, you couldn't sideload applications, you couldn't remove stuff, you couldn't, you know, do any customizations. Now AT&T's kind of become the carrier that's cool with all that stuff, and Verizon's the one that's like, nah, we don't want you to install, you know, or skins from HTC. We want you to use what comes out of the box. So kind of an interesting observation, but an observation nonetheless. Let's take a look at messaging on both of these devices. Let me pull that away to make sure I removed, had some fans that text messaged in, so thank you guys so much. But you can see over here, customized or sorted out rather by SMS and MMS and visual voicemail. Over here you just get a standard folder, and we'll go over here to compose on both of these. And with each one of these, 4.3-inch display, 4.5-inch display over here. And we'll go ahead and do a typing test. We're going to do the Quick Brown Fox today. Quick Brown Fox. Quick Brown Fox, what do you do? Drank too much spiked eggnog. Not the easiest, you know, I've always said that Sense is a pretty easy keyboard to type on. It's a little bit easier on the bigger display, but of course you do have landscape mode in here as well, and you can see the transitions are relatively quick between portrait and landscape. Now, another option you have on both of these devices is something called HTC Trace, because you're going to notice there's no option to add to do a secondary keyboard, but you do have Trace, and I think I have it enabled. Yeah, I do on both of these devices. Much like a swipe, it's just a built-in HTC solution where you can be typing, and all of a sudden you can switch over. And actually, you don't have to press the space bar. I was just doing that. To Trace input, which clearly I'm pretty terrible at. But you get the idea. You can switch over to a Trace input. Same thing over here. A little bit of a bigger display, and it's a little bit more of an elongated display. So you've got a nice landscape keyboard and a nice portrait keyboard. So I'll say the Quick Brown Fox. Whoops. Yeah, I know it's a valid recipient. The Quick Brown. No. Let's go back down here. The Quick Brown Fox is spiked. What was it again? The Quick Brown Fox drank too much spike. Too much spiked eggnog. Eggnog. That terrible misspelled word. Spiked. We're just going to roll with spiked. We're going to try that one more time. I'm going to roll with that. Too much slidged eggnog. Quick Brown Fox says drank too much. And of course you can switch over pretty easy. And I don't have it enabled on this keyboard at the moment, but you can do Trace on this one as well. So it's a nice touch. You don't have to switch keyboards out. You're using the same HTC keyboard, and you can do some cool things within the settings, like you can change that from blue to yellow to green. You can kind of change that out, highlighting a little bit and make it your own on both of these devices.